What's up? Happy Monday, everybody. It's Amanda and Ed here. Today's episode is going to be super awesome because, as always, we try to bring you guys value that applies to all industries. And I think today's is going to be really super cool because it does just that. It applies to all industries, all lanes inside of industries. And so I'm excited about the conversation. Ed, what are we going to talk about?
Yes, we're going to be talking about the 6 do's and don'ts of cold calling. But like we were just talking about before we started the show, was it applies to every industry and not just
Yep.
cold calling. We're talking about being
Yes.
able to take these do's and don'ts. We got 6 of them for you. Plus, we got some storytelling that you're going to want to stick around till the end to listen to because trust me, you do not want to be this person. But we wanted to share these tips with you because it applies, like we said, to all industries and to all your actions, not just cold calling.
Mhm.
So if you're thinking, Ed, I don't do a whole lot of cold calling. I don't like it and I don't do it. That's okay. This is going to apply to even
Yep.
your outreaches on email or to messages, the DMs, any kind of outreach that you're doing. These 6 do's and 6 don'ts are going to help you. So be sure to stick around. And then, like I said, till the end, we'll be sharing some stories here. So, Amanda, what's number 1 on the do's? So, we're going to start with the 6 do's, everyone.
Awesome. Well, on the dues, I think is the most important for literally every element of your life. Not even just business, but just being yourself. There's only one you. There's only one you. And so being yourself, showing up authentic, you hear us talk about it all the time. And it's
Yep.
because it's that important. Just being true to who you are.
So true. The next one is going to be confident. So
Mm,
this is huge, especially for those of you who are trying to be on video or want to get
yep.
more comfortable with video. It's that confidence. And so this is a thing that carries over from your outreach to you showing up on camera and being able to share your knowledge and expertise. You're the expert. So
Yep.
show up, deliver, and engage with your audience. And whether it's on video or on a call or on email or on text, whatever it is, be
Yeah.
confident. You're the expert. You know what you're doing. You know what you're talking about. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing it. So be confident.
Totally. And if you don't, fake it till you make it. People don't know, man. They don't know if you're not confident. So if you're not feeling confident, just show up and say, you know what? I'm gonna show up as if I'm confident, even if I'm not feeling it, because
Exactly.
I was watching American Idol, real quick little tidbit, this weekend, and on it they were talking about how this one person wasn't feeling super confident in their song, and so they just said, hey, you get out there, and even if you're not feeling it, like the crowd engages with that emotion, like you're the leader of their emotion, and so you have to, show up in such a way, and so even if you're not feeling that, you need to portray it to them. And so I was
Ex-
thinking about that, like if you're not confident, that comes across in cold calling and in your marketing and everything. And so fake it till you make it.
and just show up. That's all
Yeah.
you can control is showing up as yourself. So what's number 3, Amanda? Let's jump into 3.
Provide value. This is my
Oh,
favorite. This is so important, you guys. Like this is, gosh, I feel like they're getting better as we go. But this one I think is so, so, so important. Like in addition to being who you are and being authentic and being confident, providing that value, that makes it about them. And that's
yep.
really the ultimate goal of business, right? Is that we're serving others. And so making it about them and being a resource to them and what they need, not just what you need. The conversation is different. It becomes less about sales and more about help and service. And that's really when you hit the sweet spot in business and you stop having to sell and you just get to show up and be an educator, right?
Yes, being an educator is huge, huge.
So important.
Yeah. Number 4 is recognize that a no isn't a failure. Listen, that F word's not even in my book. Like
Yep.
failure is not even a thing. It's opportunity. Like I look at that as an opportunity. And so when you get a no, don't look at it as a failure. Look at it as
Mhm.
what you learn from that experience. What did they
Totally.
talk about? What did they share with you that maybe you can use for working with others? And also know that maybe that time and place
Mhm.
is just not right for them. Like we all go
Totally.
through different seasons in our business and We all have different needs that you
Yeah.
can talk to the same person today who doesn't need your service.
Mhm.
And in 6 months, if you talk to them again, they'd be like, oh my gosh, where have you been my
Yep.
whole life? And you're like,
Totally.
well,
Or
I
they
touched
can circle
base with
back.
you.
Maybe I always tell myself it's not a no, it's a not yet.
Yeah.
And maybe it becomes a never, and maybe it becomes a no, but we don't know that. We don't know what the future holds. Like I have a client who I was working with for a few months last year, and we parted ways totally on good terms. He just needed to take a step back and focus on some other things in his business, so he did. And he called me a couple months ago, and so now we're back in business again. And so it wasn't like I could have walked away from that scenario and been like, "Oh my God, I just lost a client. This is awful. I hate it." Because
Right.
I love my clients. I love being a resource to them. And I don't love getting in their world and out of their world. And I could have beaten myself up and viewed it as failure. But why would I? Because here we are, not even a year later, and we're in business together again. And so I
Oh,
think,
I love that you shared that story because that ties into your next bullet point here. But that is key for people to understand is, again, it's really about
mhm,
not being focused so much on the sale. Listen,
yeah,
I still say this to myself and to share this with others. This is something I did back in the day when I was working at Apple doing the sales part of things. Don't worry about the sale
yep,
today. Worry about establishing and growing the
mhm,
relationship because that's what's going to bring in those sales consistently
yes,
over time.
yes,
So really pay attention to that and understand. And I'll tell you, when I was working at Apple,
mhm,
there were people, including my managers, who were worried about my numbers when
yep,
they were looking at the day-to-day stuff. And when I left there, I was the top performer with 1.7 mil out the door, and the next salesperson wasn't even close to a
yep,
mil. So I say that just to remind you that, and I wasn't about the sale. I was about my customers and
mhm,
helping them get what they needed, not necessarily what they wanted or thought that they needed. Because
totally,
again, we don't know until we start talking to the expert to understand what is it that we truly need and what
yeah,
is it that's going to help us get to that next step. And so you will have to take the time to have those
mhm,
conversations and unpack that. And that's where the magic happens. And that's where those long-term relationships come in to play.
mhm. Well, and you set me up even better is that's number 5 is focusing on that relationship building, which I think goes beautifully with that no, because if you can continue to show up, deliver and engage, guess what? You're doing number 3 now. You're providing value. Guess what? You're doing number 2 now. You're being confident, right? Like, and I'm not saying keep selling when they're like, Ed, leave me alone. I'm not interested in
Exactly.
your service. But what I mean is if someone's like, hey, Amanda, I love you and I believe in you and I believe in what you're doing, and it's just not going to work for me. Cool. And I'm going to keep showing up as someone in your space. I'm not going to be like, hey, are you ready for client care services? I'm going to ask you how I can help you continuously.
Yeah.
Like, if I see you post something on Facebook that you need this recommendation, if I have it, I'm going to give it to you. Why? Because in your brain, it's going to show up that I am helpful. And I am
Yes.
helpful, but I'm being me. I'm being confident. I'm providing value. I'm recognizing that their no is not a failure. And then I'm doing the most important thing and focusing on the relationship. And here's the cool
Totally.
thing, maybe I will never work with that person ever, but
Yeah.
maybe that person loves me so much and loves my attitude, loves my tenacity, whatever. They love who I am and what I stand for because when I call it care beyond the commission, right? I went past just the money. I wasn't focused on, oh, I only show up for my clients. I only show up for people who pay me. No, I show up. I just show up. And guess what? As a product of that, when I focus on the relationship, they might know 10 other people who need me. So I've had this happen before where I will talk to someone who we don't get into business, but they pass my information along, which is
Yes.
totally awesome.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of coming from leading with value and just being a helpful
Mhm.
resource. You're the expert and you know
Yep.
this stuff. And so the goal shouldn't always be to sell. The goal should be to be helpful
Yep.
because we know that conversations lead to conversions. And
Totally.
that can be a sale, that can just be being a guest on someone's podcast
Mhm.
or on their blog. Like there's so many things that come from having a conversation and building that relationship. So try not to be
Yeah.
focused so much on getting that sale, getting that listing right now. Even if you really need it,
Mhm.
try to remind yourself of why you're doing this and what you are to your people,
Mhm.
which is a resource.
Absolutely. And you said that in such a beautiful way because you said,
Well, thank you.
I don't know the exact words, but you were talking about going beyond just the sale
Yeah.
because in real estate, we call it being transactional versus relational. And when you're
Mhm.
transactionally focused, like think of what that agent feels like. And once again, this applies to all industries. So think of what a very transactional used car salesman feels like versus like someone who's like, okay, tell me why we're getting a new car. Like back 5 years ago when I was shopping for my car, had someone asked me that question, they would have been able to help me pick a car. Well, it was easy for me to tell the car I wanted, but I was in a really bad car accident. So being in a really bad car accident and then having to be thrust into car shopping immediately is really a
Ooh.
weird emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
And so when I'm sitting down, if someone had asked me that question versus like just trying to get me in a car, they would have heard my story and heard why I wanted the safest vehicle I could put myself in. And
Yeah.
so it becomes a different conversation. And then how much does that person now show up for me if I'm like, hey, listen, my car was just totaled. I was in this really bad car accident. It was awful. And I just need a vehicle now, but I want one that I feel safe driving in. They're
Right.
going to be like, you know what? Okay. Like I drive a really safe car, Honda CRV, one of the safest you can buy. And for a reason, they would have pointed me to something like that. But if I just had a used car salesman, they might have been pointing me to some race car or something. You need a
Right.
faster vehicle. They don't
Yep.
care about me. They just want the sale. They just want the money. And it feels different.
Yeah.
And
And it
it's
will feel
so
different.
important.
Yeah, it will feel different after you purchase too. Like
Totally.
they're gonna get that sale for the day, but then you're most likely not gonna be a happy customer that is going to not recommend people to that
Well, and I
place
might
or
not
even
like it.
visit.
Like on a real estate perspective, if I'm like, Ed, this is probably going to be the best house you can find right here. We're not going to find better in your budget. So I think we should write on it. I know you don't love it, but you'll love it in time. Like,
No.
this is your only option.
Yeah.
You might get swayed by that. Hopefully not, but you might get swayed by that. You might walk away and then every day you're in your house that you hate it, you're going
Oh,
to like cuss my name out. Like you're going to hate me as a
yeah.
proxy of connecting you into this.
It's
And so it's so important for those reasons, which is why I think providing value and being a resource and focusing on the relationship is the only way to show up in business. This is why client care. This is why video marketing. This is why all of these things we keep talking about are so important because it shows those things. It gives you more value and more credibility, but it focuses on the person at the end of
yes.
the day. And so that's what I didn't set you up good for your
That's
last point, but
it's all
that's what I think is the most important thing, and one way that you can not ruin the relationship is what, Ed?
you can leave messages. So if you are connecting with people, obviously specifically cold calling, you can leave voicemails, right? And
Mhm,
if you're messaging people, leave messages that are helpful. Like we're all on LinkedIn. And if you're not, you should be because
mhm.
LinkedIn definitely has turned a corner over the past year and is continuing to grow. Just side note there. Um, but start being more active on LinkedIn. But we all know how many of us are on LinkedIn and we get those messages that just don't feel real.
Mhm.
They just feel like somebody's
Automated,
pitching
yeah.
and they're just selling, selling, selling. They don't even
Or
care.
even Facebook. Think of,
Mhm.
MLMs,
Yeah.
where it's like, "Ed, I was thinking about you because I know you like purple footballs." Like, and you're like, "Do you know that I like purple foot like, how do you know I like purple footballs? I've never met you."
Right. That
You
is so
know?
random. That is so random.
That was
Um,
the first thing that came to my mind. I don't know.
but yeah, so you want to make sure that you are, again, leading with value and understand that yes, the messages, don't worry about the dog. Yes, the messages are easier to fall to the wayside in terms of you're on the computer, you're
Mhm.
not seeing the human. So you're just coming up with whatever copy you can and hitting send, especially because you're trying to do it as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
But remember, you have people on the other side of that screen. You have people on the other side of that message that are going to receive that.
Mhm.
You don't know where they're at in their day, their feelings, whatever. So you don't know how they're going to receive that. And you always just want to make sure that when you hit that send button, it's really coming from a place of value and that you truly
Totally.
are trying to help support them and not, hey, I need to sell today. Are you going to be buying from
Mhm.
me? That's what we want to make
Absolutely.
sure.
Well, and the most common script in real estate is, hey, Ed, who do you know that wants to buy, sell, or invest in real estate that I can help? And a lot of
Mm,
agents think that's a wonderful script because they think it's not asking Ed if he wants to buy, sell, or invest, but it's asking who he knows. And then it's saying help.
yeah.
What I think about when I think of messages is when you can leave an authentic message that's not salesy like that. That's not like, hey, Ed, just calling to see who you knew that might want to buy, sell, or invest. Like when you can leave a care message, like my client care messages often sound something like, hey, Ed, just calling to check in on behalf of whoever I'm calling. Just wanting to touch base, see how things are going, see if there's anything you need that we can help you with.
See,
Anyways, feel free to call me back if you have a moment and want to. Like, I'm not saying you have to call me back ASAP. I'm saying, hey, if there's anything you need or want that we can help you with, or you just want to touch base, give me a call back. I'm here for you. If not, no worries. I'll give you a call in a few months. Right.
yes.
And so now the people that need something, they call me back and they're like, hey, man, it's so great you called. I actually was going to call them next week and ask for a painter recommendation. Well, now here's what's even cool is they get to follow up and see, does that turn into a lead or do they just get to keep providing value?
Mm. If you just listen to that, you need to replay that on the replay and mark that spot here in the episode. That was such a great message. I would, being on the other side of that phone call or that message,
Mm-hmm.
I would love to get that because you were
Right.
transparent. I knew why you were calling.
Yep.
I didn't feel like it was just to sell me on something.
Mm-hmm.
And you stated all these things. I'm calling on behalf of, so it made the connection of who you're
Yep.
related to. So therefore, it's a little bit warmer. It's not very hard
Absolutely.
cold. And then you went into, hey, call me back if you like, and just checking in,
Yeah.
like super casual, and it just felt comfortable for me. So
Totally. Well,
that
this
was a
is the
big one.
beauty of client care, right? This is the beauty of follow up. This is the beauty of nurture is because you get to be relationship focused. And
Mhm.
so the feel feels so different, right? This is why video marketing works because the feel feels so different. It doesn't feel salesy. It doesn't have that overt, who do you know that wants to buy, sell, or invest? Tell me right now, right now. I don't like that. Nor do I like when we're talking about messages, how you said, you told me why you're calling. I don't like it when you're like, hey, Ed, this is Amanda with Joe Schmo's office. Call me back at your earliest convenience. Thanks. Guess
No.
what? My brain like starts going, okay, why does Joe Schmo want to talk to me? Who is Joe Schmo? Like,
Yes.
and then I might start doing my research. If I don't know who Joe Schmo is, I'm going to do my research because I don't just
100%.
call random strangers back. And I'm going to see Joe Schmo as a real estate agent or a car salesman. And then I'm going to say, yeah, I don't need a house. I don't need a car. This happens on my client care check-in calls sometimes. So using that same script, some people still, because of the way some agents have shown up or salespeople in general, I'll be like, hey, just calling to check in. Ed, how are things going? Do you need anything? And they're like, hey, we're good. We actually just bought our house a year ago, not looking to buy or sell anytime soon. And I'm like, hey, totally cool. Love it that you're loving the house. Here's some of the things I can help you with. Right. So I
Yes.
backtrack it to tell them what help is so that
Ooh,
they don't think I'm calling to be salesy. So I'm like, hey, love that you're loving the house. Not trying to sell you on a house. What I am trying to see is, do you need any connections for contractors? You know, are you
yes.
guys, we're entering like right now, a lot of my calls are, hey, we're entering that spring and summertime for real estate clients. I'm entering that spring and summertime. And so just calling to see if you need any connections for contractors or anything like that as you do your spring projects. I'm not even asking you for a sale,
No.
but in leaving the message when you are slow and steady and consistent, that's the key with leaving messages. But if you do all of those things, you're transparent, it's still a touch whether they answer you or not.
Yeah. Oh, that was so good. And tell them what help is.
Yes.
That is, oh, that's so good.
Well,
So good.
because everybody, this is my best example of it. I say cat, you might picture an orange tabby. I'm picturing my black cat, Mally. Neither of
Right.
us are wrong, right? We're both picturing a cat. We're both right. The
Yep.
problem is we're not picturing the same cat. And so we're not talking the same language. And so if
Right.
I call and say help, you're thinking buy, sell, or invest because that's how most salespeople show up. If I'm,
Yes.
so then I'm saying, hey, totally cool that you don't want to move. Let me tell you some other ways I can help you because the purpose of my call is to help you, not to sell you.
Right.
And now
Right.
I'm coaching you, I'm educating you, and that pulls me out of that sales role and into that teacher, trainer, educator role, which is where you want to be because you're providing the value, you're being the expert.
Yes. Oh, this is so good. All right. So we're going to blow through these 6 don'ts and get you guys all of the 6 don'ts. So we just covered the 6 do's. Now we're going to go into the don'ts and then share a quick story about, awkward calls and what not to do, because it's important. It's
Super
great
important.
content. That's the cool thing, is that while the call was so awkward and just weird for me, all I could think of was, this is great content and I cannot wait to share it with my audience because it's a teachable moment. So that's what we got coming up. All right. Number 1 on the 6 don'ts. Amanda, what do we got there?
This is perfect for what we were just talking about. Don't take it personal. Just
Yeah,
keep rolling with it. Check in, be you. Don't take it personal.
that's a big one. Number 2 is don't jump straight into your pitch.
Please. I beg of thee.
Yes, yes. This is a big one. Again, we're going to circle back to this here in a second because this ties into our stories, but just don't jump into your pitch right away. Understand that it can come up in the conversation, but it shouldn't be the conversation.
Yes, absolutely.
Especially if it's on a networking call or a call that people did not specifically say, pitch me today, please.
Totally. And if they do, great. You can do that all day long. But if they don't, build the relational bridge. You have
Yes.
to build a relational bridge that can support the weight of the ask.
Ooh, not
Permission marketing, Seth Godin. You have to have that. You have to ask permission.
Yeah,
And
and
you
it makes such a
only
huge
can do
difference.
that through relationship. There's no other way.
And that makes a huge difference. I will tell you, especially when you think about the call that I'm about to share, because when you ask, you're coming from a different place. The other person is going to be coming from a different place and be more willing to hear you out versus you just barfing all over them with your pitch. Like, then it's just like, this is a mess. I don't even know what you're doing. I got to go.
Absolutely. Well, this rolls perfectly into number 3, because for me, when you do that and you set me up like that, I feel like you're wasting my time. And so number 3 is don't waste their time, because if you're like me and you start to waste my time, I get really frustrated.
Yes.
Like, especially if it's not something I asked for, like the multi-level marketing people who will Facebook message me, who I've maybe loosely friends with, or maybe don't even know. And they message me. Now, all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I'm now having to spend time responding to you, and we have no relational equity. Like, I don't know you. Now, my friends that I know, cool. I want to support you guys. So absolutely, if I'm interested, yes. But my point is don't just jump right into the pitch and then waste their time, and don't keep lingering. If you know they're out, they're out. Like, don't just keep on it, because man, you'll lose people
so
so quick.
frustrating. Yeah. And plus, listen, if you're all about yourself, you're wasting your time. So that's the whole point here, is don't waste your time or their time. If you're not thinking about them, think about yourself in that case, and understand you're wasting your time and your breath and basically your money. So hopefully that
time is money, right?
Time.
I can always get more money. I can't always get more time. And so as far as I'm concerned, it's more frustrating when you waste my time than when you waste my money.
Totally. So number 4 is don't hang up without a follow-up. Again, if the person is totally not interested and whatnot, then you make those notes and maybe check in 3, 6, 12 months, whatever. But if the conversation's been going decently and you read the room correctly, then make sure that you schedule a follow-up. So then that way you can just check in and have another conversation. This builds a great practice for you with all your connections, whether you're trying to sell something or not. It allows you to be more consistent, which is what we talk about.
More intentional. And here's an agent told me this once, and I thought it was the best way to look at sales and follow-up calls and all of that, is every call we make, we're just helping them take their next step. And so whether that next step is a phone call in 3 months, whether that next step is meeting us in person, this is when I was doing cold calling, but whatever that next step is, that's our goal of our call. Our goal isn't to get them in for an appointment, because when you become so appointment focused, you become cold. That's not the goal, right? We're trying to be people focused. But he said, if I'm just every call I make, even if it's a cold call, if I'm trying to just help you take your next step, you might not be ready for 2 years. I don't need to get you in and waste your time and any of that right now,
Right.
because you're not, like, it's worthless and it wastes my time. And so maybe our follow-up is a once a year thing, or maybe it's a, hey, I'm going to call and check in 3 months just to see if anything's changed. No pressure. And if you can do that consistently, you're showing up, you're providing value to them consistently. And if you're not wasting their time, I think these go super hand in hand, because whenever he would make check-in calls like that with clients who weren't ready yet or not interested, he'd be like, hey, Ed, just calling you back. It's been 3 months, like I said I would. I know you said it was about a year. Just wanted to check in. Is that still the timetable we're working with? Yep. Okay, great. Well, hey, I'll call you again in 3 months. Now he's doing what he said he was going to do. And that shows the client right then and there, this is the person I want to work with, because he said, I'm going to call you every 3 months just to check in. And then he didn't have pressure.
Yeah.
And so he just helped him take his next step. He just checked in along the way. And then those are the people that sometimes 6-12 years down the road finally reach out to him. And he's like, yep. And it's like, hey, you called every 3 months. Who else would I use?
Exactly. Staying top of mind. That's a big one.
Super important.
Number 5, Amanda, what do we got?
This is, I guess, basically what I just said, but don't forget that it's prospect focus. And I'll even change that word from being the prospect is the focus to saying that it's the person is the focus. Because I think when we add a financial component to it, it loses a little bit of its humanity.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's intentional. I just think it's like when we become so prospecting focused, we don't have that care at the forefront. We have the money at the forefront. So I'm going to say, don't forget that the person is the focus. And so on that call, like in the call I just referenced, it's about them and their timetable. It doesn't matter what my bank account looks like. It doesn't matter how much I want this sale or how much I want to be the top agent or salesperson, or none of that matters. What matters is, am I helping this person?
Exactly. Number 6 is, don't try to overcome all the concerns and objections. Like, yes, you want to be helpful. Yes, you probably know all the things and can do all the things, but remember what you're the expert in and what you really are there to do to help that client. And then don't be afraid to refer out for that client. Like, this is a big one, is that people need to understand there's plenty of business for all of us. We can all be doing the same quote thing, but we all come at it from a different angle, or should be coming at it from a different angle. And so don't be afraid to refer out for that part.
Absolutely. I would just say, learn what is a limiting belief or excuse, I guess, for the client. And what is a true and true. Like, if I'm saying, I don't want to sell my house because this is the last house I lived in with my husband before he passed, and you keep using it as an objection, you're going to lose me quicker than anything. But if I'm saying, I don't know, I'm worried the market's going to shift, those are objections that you can overcome because you're the expert in. But if a client or person is saying no, and even if it's not that extreme, right? I gave you an extreme example. Maybe it's like, I just love my house. I don't think I'd find better. Maybe that's so true and true to their core. And you keep coming back and say, hey, I really think you can capitalize on your proceeds right now in this market. We should really talk about it. And they're like, you know what? I like this house. I don't think I'd find better. Take them at their word. Like, there's a fine line of it, right?
You got to read the room. And so that's the 6 don'ts. We did the 6 do's at the beginning. Now we're going to wrap it up with our awkward phone call teachable moment. So listen, this is all teachable moments. So this is why we share it. This is why we do it. Obviously, we're not going to give any names, but last week I was on a call. Somebody scheduled time on my calendar to network with me. What we do, right? We're out here, we're trying to network and just get to know people and see how we can best support each other. And I had a feeling prior to the call that it was going to be a little off. I just didn't know why, but I had that feeling. So I get on the call. The person that scheduled the call wasn't the person who showed up first to the call. So that was already weird. And then the other person who actually scheduled the call showed up. And
surprise,
it felt like I was dropped into a demo that I didn't ask for and that I didn't sign up for this call. Like I literally, the call was supposed to be just, hey, Amanda, how's it going? We
Yeah.
met online. Like, tell me a little bit more about you. Where you at? What do you do? That kind of call. Not, hey, Amanda, you're going to want to know about this product, this service, because it's going to be amazing. And do you want to sign
Yep.
up? It's free to sign up. Would you like to also have us follow up with you here shortly to
No,
check in
please
with you?
no. My
Like,
phone number is 911. Thank you.
yes, it was that kind of call. And
Yeah,
I will tell you, I immediately tuned out. I let it
absolutely.
continue rolling because I was like, this is good content. This is a great experience to have
Mhm.
because it's teachable for all of us. And do I believe at least one of them was coming from a good place in trying to really share their business? Of course. Like I get it. Like, maybe they haven't had the proper training. Maybe they're in
Or
that
maybe they've had their proper training. Like, I've seen it be that slave driver of like, "Hey, this is what we do." Like
yeah.
love Orange Theory, but they used to say, "Hey, who are 3" like, when you sign up, they would make you write down a few friends and their phone numbers or whatever of people who might like Orange Theory. And I didn't know what they were gonna do with that information, but they called my friends, right?
Yes.
And
And
it's weird because these people nobody signed up for that, and so it's I just think it's so important to be transparent about the purpose of a call.
100%. And be able to read the room. Like,
Yes.
listen, we were on a Zoom, so you could
Well, I
see
assume it was on
each
your
other.
face. I assume you were like, "I'm not real sure why I'm here." Like, because if that were
Yes.
me, like, I can't control my face. It would have literally been like, "I'm
Oh,
sorry,
yeah.
Ed, there might have been some miscommunication here. I'm not
Yes.
real interested in your product. I'm sorry." Like, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
allow me that space to say, "I'm so sorry. We must have had a mishap here. So sorry. Enjoy your Tuesday." You
And
know?
that's the thing. There was facial
Yep.
expressions. There was also verbal comments in
Mhm.
trying to help guide, because of course I'm always trying to
Yeah.
help support all of our businesses whenever we get on a call, whatever, again, teachable moments. And I tried to guide them with, this isn't really a sales call. Well, I didn't say that part. I said, basically, this is not a sales call. This is really to get to know each other. And I tried to ease it in there a couple
Mhm.
times, and it just wasn't clicking. And
Yep.
so I share this with you because it's so important to realize whether or not that was their intent. That's what happened from
Yeah.
my side. The other person who came to a call
Mhm.
under one circumstance, under one, I
Yeah.
can't think of the right word, but the what I expected was completely different. And again, it felt like I was on a sales demo call for a service that I signed up for, which I didn't,
Yep.
to learn more about their product, which I didn't even know what the product was
Mhm.
or why they were bringing this up. Like there was no entry into, hey, Amanda, how's it going? What do
Yep.
you do? Oh, awesome. Well, hey, Ed, what do you do? Oh, great. And then have that conversation that warms things up to then get into
Yep.
possibly on that call, maybe not, possibly on that call into the service and the
Mhm.
offer. Like there's a way to go about it again with that permission based, but also if you're having a conversation with someone and it's something you love and it's what you do and you're an expert in,
Yep.
it's gonna roll right off your tongue and be natural,
Well, and
and
me
you
on
are
the
really
as the
awesome.
client, you might not even have to sell at that point. Like, I'm thinking of
Exactly.
someone that you, connected me with, and
Yeah,
we hopped on a call, and I didn't quite know why I was on a call with this person, but I was cool with it. I was like, "Whatever, we're having a call, we're
yeah,
chatting." And afterwards, I was like, "I need more of you in my world. How do I get more access to you?" And this person just so happens to have a group coaching program. And so
nice.
instantly, this person didn't have to, whether that was the intent of her call or not, I do not know.
Right.
And quite frankly, I do not care because she showed up so authentic to who she was and provided such value. And it was such a great relationship focused call that the entire call, I'm like, I need more of this in my world. How do I get it? Right. And so I did the sale
Love
for her at that
Yes.
point, right? She didn't have to say, "Hey, by the way, if you liked me and you
Right.
want to join my coaching program." I said, "How do I get more access to you? What do I need to do? Tell me all the things." And she said, "Actually, right? Now you're making sales work for you and you're not having to sell and you have the relational bridge. And then what did I do? I've told like 20 people about it.
See? And that's the beauty of it. And that's why we
Mhm.
talk about being authentic, being on video, being able to have conversations,
Yep.
because people buy from people they know, like, and trust. That's not just a line. That's
Yep.
exactly
It's
what
true.
happens. And that's why you're seeing people use video for their podcasting now. That's
Mhm.
why we set this up from the start as a video podcast, because we know that we like to see each other. We like to be able to engage with our audience in multiple ways, whether it's just audio
Mhm.
or the video component as well. And all of the social media channels and now the podcasting channels, I won't go too far into this, but everything is including video because
Yep.
they know that people like to have options for when they're learning something and engaging with others. And it's over on search, over 80% of all internet traffic is video based.
Yep.
And Spotify just opened up for everyone who has a podcast the option to upload your video podcast for it. So it's like, that's huge. And
Yeah.
so we have to understand that if we're trying to really have relationships with people, whether they buy today or not, that's not the question. We're trying to have relationships with people because we
Mhm.
want to build that know, like, trust. We want to be that resource. We want to be able to be that expert that people turn to when they
Yep.
need something. That's what you have to do. You have to keep showing up, you keep delivering and keep engaging, even when it feels like no one else is around.
Mhm. Yep.
So that was our 6 do's and don'ts with a little bit of a teachable moment on what not to do on a call and what to do on a call.
Yeah.
And that can all play a part in messages as well. Like we talked about calling, but translate that to whatever you're doing in your business.
Absolutely.
If it's just email or text or whatever, switch out the word call and put that in there. It still applies.
Well, applies to your marketing, literally everything.
Mhm.
So super, super cool topic today.
Yes. So if you need anything, client care services, you're going to reach out to Amanda. If you need
Yep.
video coaching, you're going to reach out to me. We'll both point you in the right direction. Whether that's working with us or not, that's to be determined, right? That's all up to you reaching out and us seeing what's going to be a best fit for you and where you're at with your business today. So you can reach out to us anytime on social. The link is also in the description. And I think we're all set on this episode. Yeah, Amanda?
I'm good.
All right. So we'll see you all back here next week, Monday, 8 a.m. Pacific, right here on the same channel. If you need anything in between, reach out and we'll see you later. Take care.
See ya.